You know, I've always kind of worked off the premise that simplicity is divinity. And field theory is actually incredibly simple if you get down to the truth of it. And it's certainly nothing like the bullshit that quantum mechanics would have you believe. You know, this is about photography, by the way. This is not a video about quantum mechanics. But very quickly on that, if you were to believe quantum mechanics and general relativity, Mother Nature is a cross-eyed hooker on crack with a calculator with a bag of magic particles. And the universe absolutely does not work that way. Everything is fields, and fields are not particles. And the same sort of rampant stupidity kind of exists in photography, especially where people get confused about crop sensors versus full-frame sensory cameras. The advantages of full-frame sensory cameras are obvious, and I've talked about them endlessly. It is the case, however, it's not the case in every camera. Like the Canon 5D, the 51 megapixel camera has a DX pixel pitch on it. Technology has drastically improved. I'm thinking it's actually either on the gain on the sensor, or actually it's probably, from what I've heard, the micro lenses on the sensor. This is not a video about the Nikon D500, which I've done more than enough of. People are screaming at me to stop making videos on the Nikon D500, and that's all well and fine. And that's not about this. It's kind of a pop quiz as far as simplicity. People have this notion that you have a different field of view. Like if you throw a 35mm lens on a DX crop sensor, that's basically a 50mm field of view. So a 50mm full frame, if you want to get that field of view, you need to use a 35mm lens. Doesn't matter if it's full frame or crop, to get a roughly 50mm field of view. Now here's the question. Strictly speaking about lenses, because all cameras, doesn't matter if it's Sony, Canon, Nikon, Leica, Fuji, they all work the same way. And that is that they all drop the same light. So you tell me, does a 35mm lens have a different field of view on a DX crop? So this right now, I'm rocking a 24mm f1.8G on this DX crop sensor Nikon D500. Now, the equivalent captured field of view is basically 35mm, technically 36, something like that. Is this lens throwing out a different field of view? No, it's not. The field of view is exactly the same, whether this lens is on, this is a full frame lens by the way, field of view on this lens is exactly the same on a full frame camera Nikon or on this DX crop sensor. The field of view is exactly the same. Well, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. The field of view is exactly the same as shot out of the back of this lens. The difference is captured field of view. Okay? This is the same reason why a 56mm, while it's basically a portrait, a equivalent 85mm on a DX crop sensor, like Fuji's 56mm, which I've got that lens, 56mm f1.2. That's a damn fast. So why is it so fast? Because field of view is not depth of field, and depth of field is the same when you're talking about a compression and the bokeh or bokeh that drops out of that lens. To get the exact same bokeh or bokeh out of an 85mm f1.8 at f1.8 on a full frame camera, Fuji, Nikon, anybody else, if you want to get the exact same bokeh out of an equivalent captured field of view 85mm lens, which would be a 56mm or a 58, roughly the same thing, you have to really crank open the aperture. So to get the exact same bokeh out of that 56mm or 58mm lens, you have to open it up to f1.4. Depends on the lens. You might have to open it up to f1.2. As I found on the Fuji, the exact same depth of field or bokeh as the 85mm Zeiss or Nikkor 85mm f1.8, you have to open it up to f1.4 on the Fuji 56mm lens. So this is a huge advantage. You make those lenses really damn fast for the DX crop sensor cameras to get the exact same depth of field. So what's the difference? Field of view versus captured field of view, but equivalent field of view. Okay? What's the difference between those three? Field of view, captured field of view, and equivalent field of view. Okay? The equivalent of a 35mm lens for full frame is 24mm. on a DX crop, which is why this lens is the tits on the Nikon D500. It's a fast lens at f1.8, and it's a 24 millimeter, roughly a 35. Basically, if you ever asked every professional photographer, what's the one, if you could only have one lens, what would it be? It would be a 35 millimeter lens of some sort, which is what this is, in captured field of view. But it's still a 24 millimeter. While this lens is an equivalent field of view of 35 millimeter, the depth of field that it throws out is still 24 millimeters. See, this is the simplicity. Like, you know, Mother Nature is Mother Nature is like a half-naked chick wearing like a I don't know, a moss bikini. You know, bikini made out of moss, and she's barefoot and naked, and she's got hairy armpits. And people try to complicate stuff, you know, so intrinsically. It doesn't matter. The lens does not know what camera it's on or what sensor size is underneath it. The depth of field that a 56 millimeter throws out is the depth of field that a 56 millimeter. While the 56 millimeter is equivalent to 85 millimeter basically on a DX crop sensor, that depth of field is the same, which is why the portraiture lens for DX crop sensor cameras have to be made so damn fast to get an 85 millimeter f1.8 full frame equivalent out of the DX crop sensor lens. For, you know, example, the Fuji, it's got to be made damn fast to get that exact same depth of field, that bokeh that you want, that you love on the 85 millimeter, to get that on the 56 and a DX crop. The lens has got to be opened up. And then, of course, you have another issue where if you don't nail the autofocus right, like on someone's eyeball, you've got less of a fudge factor. So that's an issue on a DX crop sensor camera. Your depth of field is more shallow, but it has the ultimate same depth of field as the 85 millimeter. Because a 56 is a 56 is a 56. Every lens drops the same light, and it doesn't know or give a damn, give a hell, give a hoot what size sensor is underneath it. So field of view versus captured field of view. Because this is still a 24 millimeter lens on this DX crop sensor. Well, no, it's not. It's an equivalent of a 35. That's the equivalent field of view. And what is captured is basically 35 millimeter. But this lens still dumps out the same field of view and the same depth of field on the full frame camera as it does on this DX crop sensor camera. So this is a problem. And people that wanted me to do these tests, for example, and this is the other stupidity factor. People want me to say, well, if you're going to use the 35 millimeter, the exact same lens like the Zeiss on the D500 and the D750, to get the exact same captured field of view, you're going to have to move the D750 closer. Well, screw me, but that creates a problem, and that is called the inverse square of the distance as far as the luminal intensity. You know, there's this crazy little law that the closer you get to a light source, the brighter it gets. So if I throw the same lens on the D750 and then rake it forward on the tripod to my test target, you know, then the test is foobarred. The test is what we call F-U-C-T, right? Yeah, that's how you spell it, F-U-C-T, right? Because it's not the same. I've gotten closer to my subject, and therefore the luminal intensity is inverse square of the distance. I can't put the exact same lens. This is why I did the earlier test a few weeks ago at the exact same distance. Because that lens has stayed the exact same position. It hasn't moved. The only thing that's changed is the crop sensor camera that's on the back of it. That lens tosses the same light at the same distance at the exact same focus, regardless of what damn camera is behind it. And people, now it confuses people. And it confuses me that it confuses people. It's like, how is that confusing? And apparently it confuses like 2 or 3 of the top YouTube photographers as far as, you know, what the hell a DX crop sensor is. You know, you don't get a different depth of field if you dump the same lens on a DX crop sensor. The depth of field of this lens, or any lens on a full frame camera, is the exact same depth of field as it is on this DX crop sensor camera. Well, no, it's not, because so-and-so said, well, yeah, that so-and-so is full of it. Lenses dump the same. You remember anything about photography as far as the technical side, and remember, the lenses dump the same light. The same light. They don't give a damn what size sensor is underneath it. They don't give a damn of how much of their light is cropped. You know, ultimately that is important for you as far as enlarging later and what the pixel pitch is and the translational information of what it is compared to what you can crop it as and all these other things. But lenses don't care. They dump the same field of view and they dump the exact same depth of field. As far as what the camera captures of that field of view is something else. But the lens dumps the same field of view. So that's field of view versus captured field of view versus equivalent field of view. And field of view is not depth of field. That is why the hell, while a 56 millimeter is equivalent field of view of 85 millimeter basically in a full frame, it's not, because a 56 is a 56 is a 56. The compression on a 56 lens, as far as how it renders a person's face, for example, is exactly what the hell a 56 does. It is not an 85. While the field of view equivalent is like an 85, the lens compression is exactly like what the hell the lens is, which is a 56. So, how come nobody gets that? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. Okay? Bye. Don't you like how much better these pictures look out of the D5? People are complaining to me. It's like, no. Diaper and P review said, you know, I've seen their test comparison. The D750 looks just as good. No, it doesn't. I use 4 different lenses. I mean, I don't know how many lenses you want me to test. No, it doesn't look the same. It's not. You know, I got so excited about this damn camera, not because it's a... I mean, how many Nikon cameras have I had and do own? I mean, when have I ever gotten excited about one? Like, hooray! It's this one. You know? I had 2 weeks to return this thing, you know? I mean, it doesn't take me 24 hours to figure it out whether or not something's a turd or not. How long did it take me to figure out this lens is the tits? Oh my god, damn. Damn! It's not going anywhere. It's not going to be returned. I'm not praising it because it's a new toy or it's a shiny new thing. You know, I'm praising it because, you know, it's that damn good. Yeah, I know the Nikon D500 reviews have got to stop, but you all asked me to do them. And a lot of people asked me to do them. And a lot of people asked me to do a lot of them, so... You can't make anybody happy. Someone's always got to piss in your cornflakes, you know?